Hi everyone, I'm Alex, a six-figure Amazon seller, and in today's video, I'm going to do a full Keepa tutorial. I want to walk through exactly how to use Keepa, what each different section and category means within the Keepa app, go through the Chrome extension, and then show you an analysis on a product at the end, whether or not I would buy it based on some of the metrics that Keepa offers. If this sounds interesting to you, definitely subscribe to the channel, and let's get into the video. First, I'll show you Keepa.com version of the ASIN. Then I'll show you the actual Amazon listing with the Keepa Chrome extension attached, show you how to go through all of the different settings and understand each tool. And then at the end, I'll break down why I would or wouldn't purchase this based on some of the data through Keepa. So you can go to Keepa.com and then click the search tab. That'll bring up this little search box and you can paste the ASIN. I find the ASIN on the page straight from the Seller Amp extension as well, brings up the ASIN here. Otherwise, normally on a listing, if you scroll down far enough, you should be able to find the ASIN there as well. So first we'll look at what all these lines mean here, and then later we'll show you how to use them and use them to evaluate if it's a good product or not. So you can see this pink purple line, that's the buy box. That's going to be that buy now button, right? At the top, if you have a add to cart, buy now, that is the buy box. And only one person gets it at a time, but it can rotate from seller to seller as many times as it wants a day, depending on the algorithm. You know, what's your seller rank, how many reviews you have, how many you have in stock, a bunch of different factors play into the buy box. But this number is important, right? Because if someone has the buy box and a customer clicks the buy now button, it's going to sell at that big buy box price. So we can see on this product, the buy box, for a couple weeks was sitting around the, $49 range, jumped up to $60 range, probably because the sellers dropped. Yep. So this line's pretty important, one you want to toggle on at all times. The other two that we can look at for sales history is the orange triangles or the third-party FBA sellers. And then we can also look at the blue squares, which is the third-party FBM sellers, so the people shipping themselves, not through Amazon's fulfillment centers. But we can see that the FBA sellers are consistent with the buy box, which means you probably want to sell this product FBA because those are mostly the ones getting the sales. I normally ship most of my stuff FBA, so Amazon's fulfilling all the orders. So I just kind of strictly use the buy box indicator. Sometimes if there's no buy box, I'll turn on the orange triangles, the FBA indicators to see kind of where people have this listed. But this purple pink buy box line will be the best indicator for where stuff is currently and historically selling. Next, we see this green line, that's the sales rank. That's going to be the specific overall category sales rank. This product is under the beauty and personal care. We can see that it's consistently between 40 and about 90,000 rank. This is very important because there's a certain number of sales kind of associated with a rank. You can use a tool like Jungle Scout and the sales estimator to give you kind of an idea of how much is selling at each rank. We can see that this product sells, on average, probably around that 60,000 rank, which is pretty good for beauty. That's definitely something you want to consider buying. But if we see things, really low at one point and then the sales rank creeps up over time, or it spikes up, or we see drops in the sales rank. There's all different reasonings why, which I'll get into a little bit later. We can also extend out the time frame. As you can see, this product slowly creeps up in sales rank over time. At one point, we're looking at a sub 20,000 rank, which is really good. That's going to sell pretty often. In the beauty category, that could be over 1,000 times a month. But 60,000 is still pretty well. So while we're on the topic of timelines, we will look at the different ranges you can see. There's obviously the day range, which is almost never looked at by me, weekly, monthly, 3 months, and then the past year. And then they have all-time data. Basically, I toggle between the 3 months and the year. The 3 months gives me a good indicator of, what has happened with this product. If you want to look at the yearly data, it'll show you, especially like during Q4, it'll show you if, this product increased in price during December, people are buying it as a gift. Doesn't seem to be the case. Actually, it seems like people, the buy box was lost around this time. But you can use this as an indicator, like price was lower before, which maybe is why the sales rank was lower. People were buying it more often because it was a better price point. As the price increased, we were looking at $34, now currently $60. You can see as the price increases, the sales rank increases, which just means, less people are willing to pay $60 for this product. So still a good rank, like I said, but it's good to see this data over time. If we only look at the 1 month Snapchat, we might see, okay, $60, that's great. But you zoom out a little bit further and we can see, well, this product in the past was closer to $50. There's a good chance that if the sellers increase on this listing back to kind of this range, we might see the price drop back down to $49, and maybe at $49, it's not profitable to you anymore. So definitely something you want to keep in mind. Next, I'll go into the number of sellers. So that's this purple line here. The number of sellers is very important, and it's good to correlate that number with the price action up here. So I've been talking about it a little bit here, but we see this price go from $49 up to $60, $10 increase. A lot of times prices will increase when the number of sellers drop off. There's a couple of reasons why the number of sellers dropped off. It's just, maybe they only had a little bit of stock left and they finally sold out. Or sometimes when an item's moving really quickly, you see the sellers fluctuate quite often. In this case, it looks like just people are selling out of their stock and not restocking, maybe because it wasn't profitable at this $49 range. Now that there's only 2 or 3 sellers, up to 5 sellers in this range, we can see that the product's selling for $60. And maybe at $60, these people are finding it profitable. Predicting in the future, we can see this getting back up to the $10, $11 range because more people are finding it profitable at $60. But then that might also find a lot of people trying to share the buy box, not getting sales, and then dropping their price slightly to try to get that buy box back, which could bring the price right back down to $49. And now these people aren't selling it profitably anymore. So definitely a really cool tool, especially historically. If you see this thing jump up a ton, we can see 15 is about the highest it gets, but on average, we can see it's close, between 4 to 10 sellers on this listing. And when we're right around that range, the price stays pretty flat and we have the buy box. So definitely something you want to keep in mind when you're looking at products. This middle column here, not something I really look at, but it does break down the subcategories of the sales rank. So really the only one I care about is the top, high level sales rank. When you get into these categories, it's really not important to selling. That top number, that current 50,000 is going to be your biggest indicator on how quickly something is selling. And then when we scroll to the bottom here, we see that it tells you a quick overview of what the current sales rank is, the average over 90 days, and then the average over the last year. Let's jump over to the Keepa extension on the Amazon listing and continue going through what each thing means. So as you can see, it's basically the same. Shows you everything that you want to see here, shows you the ranges, everything that we see in the actual app. It's just a lot quicker to sort through these things and evaluate products when you can do it right on the Amazon listing. Before we look into these other drop downs, I want to note that this will also tell you if Amazon is on the listing. It looks like this product Amazon has not sold in the last 3 months. Maybe in the last 2 years they have sold. So this is what it'll look like. It'll show kind of this light orange hue underneath the line where it's selling at, and that means that Amazon is selling the product. A lot of those products I like to avoid personally because most of the time Amazon will hog the buy box. They will make sure that they're the ones selling it all the time because obviously they want the sales. Once Amazon gets off the buy box, you can see more FBA sellers are on the listing. Amazon's not hogging the buy box at this low price, so the price is able to increase over time. Looks like they haven't been on this listing in well over a year, so that's a good indicator there for something we want to keep in mind. And those are about all of the things that you will probably care about to toggle on or off. For me, I specifically look at the buy box. Sometimes they'll have the third-party FBA orange triangles if there is no buy box. The new listing, if there's no sellers on the listing, it just gives you like historically where people have listed this in the past. But really that buy box and the sales rank are kind of all the things I look at. And then the new offer count, I'm always looking at that. Next, I want to go into the data tab. There's 3 sub tabs under that: the product details, the offers tab, and the buy box statistics. So the product details page will just show you all of the data you want to know on this listing. It gives you all of the specific details on what product it is, which categories it's under, the ASINs, the UPCs, the weight or the size of the product, which category it's under. And then on the right side, it'll kind of show you the sales rank over time. It'll show you what the average listing price for third-party sellers, FBM sellers, and then the offer counts over time. All things that you can kind of get a sense of looking at the actual charts themselves. So I don't use this product details tab all that much, but the offers tab I do use fairly often. So the offers tab is nice because it will show you a lot of times how much these people have in stock, what their price is currently listed at, how many they've sold. Not everybody shows how much it's sold, but it's kind of a good indicator of, okay, 23, there's a couple people that don't show how many it's sold. So we know that at least 23 of these have sold, 7 in the last month. When you get on listings that have a pretty low rank, this number will be a fairly good indicator on how many you can expect that the whole listing should sell in the last 30 days. You can also turn on historic sellers, and if it's selling out often, you see a lot of fluctuations in the amount of sellers, the seller count, then it'll give you a pretty good indicator of, maybe people are running out of stock often, and that's also a good sign that it's selling fast. The last sub tab here is the buy box statistic. That'll show you the percentage of what each seller has shared the buy box. So if you see a pretty evenly distributed percentages between different sellers, that's a good sign that it rotates often. If you see one seller with 90% of the buy box, and then there's a couple more with, under 10%, that's probably something you might want to stay away from depending on other factors. But that'll mean that, that one seller is going to hog the buy box and not allow a lot of other sellers to, be able to sell that product. As you can see, there's a couple at the top, probably because, they're in stock more often or they have a lot of reviews. This one's an FBA seller, which helps a lot of products in the FBA program get more sales and get the buy box more often than the FBM sellers. You can see there's a bunch of FBM sellers, and then the FBA seller at the top obviously gets the biggest share. But this shows you that FBM sellers are also getting the buy box. Next tab we're going to look at is variations. When a product has multiple variations, we have to really take that into account because the sales rank and estimated sales per month is over all of the variations. It's not this specific one is selling 134 times a month. It's all 4 of these combined are selling for 134 times a month. And it's our job to figure out which one is maybe selling the most out of that, so we can make a better buying decision and make sure we're buying the product that's actually moving fast. One way to do that is looking at this ratings column. You want to sort by the ratings column. And like I said, the ratings is a fairly good indicator that people are buying the product and then rating it as well. So you can kind of see 37%, we can multiply that 37% by the 134 to kind of get a breakdown of how many sales this variation is getting versus this variation versus the others. You can see here that the one we were looking at, this product here, has 21% of all the ratings, so we can assume it's close to 21% of the sales per month, which should average you out to a little over 25 to 30 sales per month on this variation. This is helpful because some variation listings will have only a couple options, and maybe the top 1 or 2 has 90 to 95% of the rating share, which means that those are probably the only variations that actually sell a bunch of product. Ones that are sitting at 1 or 2% might not sell that often or even at all, so be careful when looking and buying variations. So now I'll just quickly do a breakdown of what I'm going to look for in this product and if I would purchase it or not. So we can see there's 4 variations. So the first thing I would do is I would go to the variation tab. I would look at where it is listed under the ratings. We can see 21%. It's going to sell around 30 times a month based on the seller amp, 134 estimated sales per month. To me, that's good enough. Make sure it's the same product. Yep, that's the one we were looking at. Then I'll go and look at the Keepa chart. In the last 3 months, it has climbed $10, but for the last basically month, it's been sitting around that $60 range, and the amount of sellers hasn't really increased more than 5 or 6 sellers over the last month. So to me, that's a good sign that this is probably going to stay put a little bit longer unless, more sellers can find this profitable at this price. Looking at the rank, it's pretty steady over the last 3 months, which is good. Maybe I'll go back to a year and see a little bit further back. It stays pretty flat. We don't see a ton of fluctuations except for, this little short time period here. But in the last few months, it's definitely stayed fairly steady. So that's a good sign for me. I like the number of sellers on this listing. It's fairly low. Below 10 is good for me because that shows that this is probably not going to go down in price much unless more sellers jump on the listing. The last thing I'll look at is the buy box statistics on this one and see that an FBA seller is getting the largest share of the buy box, which is exactly what I want to sell this as, FBA. So that's a good sign that if I was selling FBA, I would probably get somewhat of the buy box. And then a little bonus of how I would want to buy this product. You can see if it's selling for $60, our max cost to hit my $3 profit, 30% ROI limit would be to keep this price under $36. So if I can find this somewhere for $36 or less, I'd probably buy a couple to test buy, 4 or 5 to test buy. If it sells quickly, maybe I'll go ahead and put in an order for 10 to 20 or 30, as many as I can get, knowing, how many I think it's going to sell per month. So as you can see, once you start understanding what the Keepa charts mean and getting better at reading them, it's going to really speed up the process of you determining whether or not a product is worth buying or not. Keepa is almost essential. I look at it every single time I'm looking at a product to purchase. And it definitely helps make a lot of decisions and helps make those decisions quicker. I think the first big bottleneck a lot of people have is not being able to find a lot of product, and learning Keepa is going to make sure you're finding good products early on. The quicker you learn this, the quicker you're going to scale and become a better Amazon seller. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.